Hello there. If you're a new parent or you're expecting, I'm guessing the topic of pacifiers has come up. It's one of those things that brings up so many questions, and trust me, that is completely normal. There's just so much information floating around, and it can feel, well, a little overwhelming. So today, we're just going to break it all down, nice and simple, so you can feel confident about what's right for your little one. Ah, yes, the big question, isn't it? As a pediatrician, I talk about this pretty much every single day. And as a mother myself, I can tell you I have stood in that baby aisle, just staring at a wall of binkies, feeling just as confused as anyone. So don't worry, the goal here isn't for me to tell you what to do. It's to give you the information so you can decide what feels best for you and your baby. Okay, let's dive in. So before we can even get into the pros and cons, we really have to start with the why. Why do pacifiers even exist? And it all comes down to a baby's natural, built-in need to suck. This isn't just some random habit. It's a reflex they are born with, and it is incredibly important. Now, what's really fascinating here is the second part of this. Of course, the sucking reflex is absolutely essential for eating, for getting nutrition, but it's so much more than that. It's one of a baby's main tools for self-soothing. You know, when they're fussy or tired or just a little overwhelmed by the world, that sucking motion helps them feel calm and safe. So a pacifier can be a really helpful tool to meet that need, especially in between feedings. Okay, so that natural need for comfort brings us to the next huge question I always get. When? When can I start? And this is an area where timing really can make a big difference, especially if you're breastfeeding. Let's just walk through this timeline. In those first few weeks, the number one priority is establishing feeding. You and your baby are learning a brand new skill together. So for breastfeeding moms, we generally recommend waiting about 3 to 4 weeks. This just gives your baby plenty of time to get really good at latching without any confusion. Now, if your baby is formula fed right from the start, you don't really need to wait. You can often introduce one right away if you want to. And this right here, this brings us to one of the most significant reasons why so many pediatricians, myself included, are supportive of pacifier use. Study after study has shown that offering a pacifier when you put your baby down to sleep for naps and a bedtime can actually lower the risk of SIDS. We're not 100% sure why, but we think it might help keep their airways open. This is a really powerful protective benefit, and for many families, it's a huge piece of the puzzle. Of course, like with anything, there are important boundaries. A pacifier is for comfort, it's not a meal replacement. As you get to know your baby, you'll start to learn their different cries and cues for hunger versus their I just need to soothe myself cues. And it's also important to remember that not all babies even like pacifiers. If you offer one and your baby just keeps spitting it out, don't force it. And a huge safety note here, please never, ever use a nipple from a baby bottle as a pacifier. It can come apart from the ring and become a very serious choking hazard. All right. So let's say you've decided you want to give a pacifier a try. It's time to head to the baby aisle, at least figuratively. And I know, walking down that aisle can be dizzying. There are so many shapes and materials and sizes. So let's break down what you're looking at and, most importantly, the safety stuff to keep in mind. You're generally going to see two main types. You have silicone. Those are the clear, firmer ones. They're super durable and they hold up really well to heat, so you can pop them in the dishwasher or boiling water. Then there's latex, or natural rubber, which is that softer, more yellowish material. It's a bit more flexible, which some babies love, but it also wears out faster and isn't a fan of high heat. Honestly, there's no best one here. Your baby will probably have a strong opinion and will let you know which one they prefer. Next up is the shape. You'll see orthodontic pacifiers, the ones with a flattened bottom and a rounded top, kind of designed to fit the roof of a baby's mouth. Then you have the more traditional round nipples, which look more like a classic bottle nipple. There's a lot of marketing talk about which shape is best, but really, the best one is simply the one your baby will take. So don't be afraid to try a couple of different kinds to see what sticks. Okay, let's pause here because this slide is incredibly important. These are the non-negotiable safety rules. First, always try to get a pacifier that's made from a single piece of material. The ones made of two pieces can break apart and become a choking risk. The shield, that's the part that stays outside their mouth, has to be wider than your baby's mouth, at least 1.5 inches across, and it has to have air holes. And this next one, I really can't stress this enough. Never, ever tie a pacifier on a string or cord around your baby's neck or their hand or the crib. It is a serious strangulation risk. If you use those little clips during the day, make sure the cord is very short and you absolutely never put your baby to sleep with one on. Now let's talk about keeping them clean. Before you use it for the very first time, you want to sterilize it by boiling it for 5 minutes. And step 2 is a safety tip a lot of people don't know. After it cools a bit, squeeze the nipple part really hard to get any trapped hot water out. You definitely don't want that squirting into your baby's mouth. For the first 6 months or so, while their immune system is still getting up to speed, it's a good idea to sterilize it every day. But after 6 months, a simple wash with hot soap and water is totally fine. Pacifiers just don't last forever. They break down from all that sucking and cleaning, and especially once those little teeth pop through. Just make it a habit to give them a quick look over for any changes in color, any tears, or thin spots. A really good, easy rule of thumb is to just replace them every 2 months, no matter what. So, you've made it through the baby months. The pacifier has been your friend for soothing and sleep. But that brings us to the next big question on every parent's mind. How long is too long? It's time to talk about saying goodbye to the binky as we get into those toddler years. So this is the general age range where pediatricians and pediatric dentists really start to pay close attention. Pacifier use is totally fine in infancy, but once a child gets into that 2 to 4-year-old zone, prolonged, strong sucking can start to affect how their teeth and jaw are developing. And this slide really gets to the why behind weaning. The main concern is the teeth. Constant sucking can sometimes push the top front teeth forward and create something called an open bite, where the front teeth don't meet up when their mouth is closed. It can also, affect speech, just because it's hard to practice talking clearly with something in your mouth. The good news is, if the habit stops before those permanent teeth come in, the bite will often fix itself. Now, I know the idea of taking away a beloved pacifier can feel, pretty scary for parents. I've been there. But it really doesn't have to be a big battle. The key is to be gentle, positive, and really, really patient. Let's look at some ways to make this transition a lot smoother for everybody. Positive reinforcement works so much better than pressure. Kids thrive on praise. Maybe you make a sticker chart for every nap they take without the passy. Or you just offer tons of praise like, wow, you are being such a big kid. This helps them feel proud of themselves instead of feeling like something's being taken away. Think about when your toddler reaches for their pacifier. A lot of times it's just when they're bored. So distraction can be your best friend. When you see them start looking for it, jump in with a fun activity. Hey, let's go play with Play-Doh. Or let's read a book. By keeping their mind and their hands busy, you can often just help them move right past that impulse. And this might be the most important piece of advice of all. Just be patient. This is not a race, and putting a ton of pressure on your child can actually make them cling to it even tighter. So take a deep breath. It's really reassuring to know that most kids, they just stop on their own. They get a little older, they get more interested in the world, and they just forget about it. So trust the process. Because really, at the end of the day, every single child is different. Some kids will give up their pacifier without a second thought, and others are going to need a little more time and gentle support. As parents, we just want what's best. So trust your gut. You know your child better than anyone else, and you will find the right time and the right way that works for your family. So we've tackled the great pacifier puzzle. But as every parent knows, parenting is just a journey from one puzzle to the next, right? Whether it's sleeping through the night, starting solids, or navigating those toddler tantrums, there's always something new around the corner. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope you feel a little more confident on your journey.